Welcome to English Easy Hub. Join us as we ignite the flames of your English learning journey together.
Please subscribe to watch and embark on your English learning journey. Don't miss out on the exciting content. In this conversation, Simon reaches out to his teacher for guidance on how to improve his English speaking skills through immersive learning. He is curious about the practical ways to incorporate immersion into his daily life, especially without living in an English-speaking country. The teacher provides a wealth of valuable insights, emphasizing the importance of surrounding oneself with the language, engaging in active practice, and maintaining consistency. Through their discussion, Simon learns how to create an immersive environment, balance fluency and accuracy, and build confidence in his speaking abilities.
Teacher, I've been thinking about how to improve my speaking skills, and I came across the idea of immersive learning. Could you explain how this approach can really enhance my speaking environment and help me improve faster?
That's a great question, Simon. Immersive learning essentially means surrounding yourself with the language in as many ways as possible, mimicking the way native speakers naturally learn. The more you expose yourself to the language, the quicker your brain starts adapting to it. This includes listening to authentic material, speaking with native speakers, or even changing your daily environment to reflect the language you're learning.
So, in a way, immersion is about creating an environment where you're forced to use English more regularly? But isn't that a bit difficult if you're not living in an English-speaking country?
Exactly. Immersion is often associated with being in an English-speaking country, but you can still create a similar environment at home. For example, surround yourself with English media, movies, books, podcasts, and YouTube channels. Change the language settings on your phone, use English for social media, and most importantly, speak as much as you can. Even if you're speaking to yourself, that's still a form of active engagement.
That sounds doable, but how do I make sure I'm not just passively consuming content? How can I ensure that my speaking practice becomes more active?
Great observation. Passive learning can only take you so far. To make your practice active, you need to engage with what you're hearing and reading. For example, after watching a movie, try to summarize it out loud, mimic the actors' dialogues, or discuss the plot with a friend or online language exchange partner. This forces your brain to recall words and structures while also working on pronunciation and fluency.
Ah, I see. Mimicking the dialogue seems helpful. But how do I maintain the motivation to practice regularly, especially on days when I don't feel like speaking?
Motivation can be tricky, but one key to maintaining consistency is setting specific, achievable goals. Instead of focusing on the big picture, try smaller tasks, like learning a new word every day or recording a 1-minute video speaking about your day in English. These little wins accumulate over time and keep you motivated. Also, make the process fun by choosing topics or activities you genuinely enjoy, whether that's watching your favorite shows in English or reading about hobbies that interest you.
I love that idea of focusing on small wins. But does it help if I try speaking with people who are also learning English, or is it more beneficial to engage with native speakers?
Both can be useful, Simon. Speaking with other learners allows you to practice without the pressure of making mistakes in front of a native speaker. Plus, you can learn from each other's errors and help correct each other. However, engaging with native speakers is invaluable because it exposes you to authentic pronunciation, slang, and the natural flow of the language. The best approach is to balance both. Regularly practice with both learners and native speakers to get a mix of supportive practice and real-world exposure.
That makes sense. So, when speaking with a native speaker, should I focus more on accuracy, or is it better to just focus on fluency and not worry too much about mistakes?
Fluency should definitely be your priority when speaking with native speakers. Accuracy is important, but it shouldn't inhibit your ability to express yourself. Native speakers will often understand you even if there's a mistake here or there. The goal is to get your ideas across clearly and comfortably. As your fluency improves, you'll naturally work on accuracy through repetition and feedback.
That's reassuring to hear. What about the idea of shadowing? Is it an effective technique for improving fluency, or does it have its limits?
Shadowing is an excellent technique, Simon. It involves listening to native speech and trying to mimic it exactly as you hear it. This method helps you improve your pronunciation, intonation, and overall fluency. It's especially effective for developing a more natural rhythm when speaking. However, it's crucial not to over-rely on shadowing alone. It's best combined with other methods, like speaking freely or discussing real-life topics with others, to prevent it from becoming mechanical.
Interesting. So, I should balance shadowing with free conversation, but what if I'm not confident enough to speak freely? How can I bridge that gap between shadowing and actual conversation?
It's completely normal to feel hesitant at first, Simon. The key is to gradually ease into conversations. Start by speaking about topics you know well or can easily relate to, like hobbies or your daily routine. This will help reduce the pressure. Also, you can practice using language learning apps or platforms where you can have simple conversations with native speakers at your own pace. Over time, as your vocabulary and confidence grow, you'll feel more comfortable discussing more complex topics.
Got it. I think building confidence is going to be key for me. How important is it to think in English instead of translating from my native language?
Thinking in English is a crucial step toward fluency, Simon. When you translate, you're not only slowing down your thought process, but you're also possibly getting lost in the structure of your native language. Thinking directly in English helps you start forming sentences faster and more naturally. You can practice this by describing what's around you in English as you go about your day, or mentally narrating your actions.
That seems like a useful exercise. But sometimes, I feel like I have a mental block when trying to speak fluently. How do I overcome that hesitation to speak?
Mental blocks are common when learning a new language, Simon. The key is to remind yourself that making mistakes is part of the process. Also, try not to focus too much on speaking perfectly. If you're hesitating because you're trying to find the perfect word or structure, it can freeze you up. Instead, just speak and get the idea across, even if the sentence isn't flawless. With time, you'll become more comfortable.
I'll try to focus on communicating rather than being perfect. What about pronunciation? Should I focus on getting the accent of a particular region, or is it fine to have a more neutral accent?
A neutral accent is generally fine, Simon. The goal is to be understandable. That said, paying attention to the correct pronunciation of individual sounds, especially the tricky ones, can make a big difference in how well you're understood. If you prefer a specific accent like British or American, that's totally up to you, but it's not essential. Just aim for clarity and naturalness in your speech.
Thank you for clarifying that. Finally, I often hear about the importance of thinking in English, but can you give me some practical tips on how to start implementing this habit into my daily routine?
To start thinking in English, Simon, begin by creating English-only zones in your day. For instance, during your commute or while cooking, try to describe what you're doing in English. If you're alone, practice narrating your thoughts or observations. If you're out with friends, try switching to English for a few minutes, even if they don't speak the language. Gradually, these moments of thinking in English will become more natural, and you'll start to notice your fluency improving.
These are fantastic tips, teacher. I feel more confident about using immersion techniques now. I'll focus on consistency and balance between fluency and accuracy.
That's the spirit, Simon. Keep it up, and remember that progress takes time. The more you engage with the language, the more natural it will feel. Good luck, and don't hesitate to reach out if you need further guidance.
This conversation highlights the critical role of immersion in language learning. The teacher explains that immersive learning isn't just about exposure to content, but also about actively engaging with the language in various forms. By focusing on small, achievable goals, speaking with both native speakers and fellow learners, and embracing mistakes, Simon can enhance his speaking fluency. The teacher also offers practical tips, such as thinking in English, shadowing, and reducing hesitation, which will help Simon overcome barriers and make consistent progress. Overall, the key takeaway is that consistent active engagement with English is the best way to improve speaking skills and build confidence.
Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share to keep the English learning journey alive.